Mike Tannenbaum, former front office executive and now working for the mothership, joining us on the program. Trying to understand the smoke screen days here leading up to the draft, what's real and what's not. What are the Bears waiting for?
Dan, they should make this trade ASAP. Ryan Poles, their general manager, did an unbelievable job last year. Got obviously King's ransom wanted with the first pick again. But every day that goes by, Dan, it's obviously not the market he had hoped, and he needs to cut his losses and get a deal done as soon as possible.
What do you think Justin Fields is worth?
I would give a third-round pick. If I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers, I would pair him right away with Arthur Smith, who had great success with Ryan Tannehill in Tennessee. I think Justin Fields' skill set is very similar. He'll have better weapons in Pittsburgh than he ever had in Chicago.
Caleb Williams can't miss, in your opinion?
No, 82 sacks. He had, I believe it was 23 fumbles, and those are things that are definitely a concern. I think 60% of the NFL is going to like Caleb Williams one, and the rest 20% will be Jaden Daniels, 20% will be Drake May. So I like Caleb Williams, but those other two are closing fast.
All right. How does that work, though? The Jaden Daniels and J.J. McCarthy, it feels like they're getting a lot of positives here. We haven't played any football in a few months, but how much should this count of what's happening off the field as opposed to what they actually did on the field?
Yeah, I think what's happening, Dan, is like if you put J.J. McCarthy in LSU's offense and put Jaden Daniels in Michigan's offense, their statistics would look very similar to what the other has. Not saying identical, but similar. J.J. McCarthy was incredibly efficient, doesn't turn the ball over, can make all the throws. And I think, especially when you look at his Indy workout, I wouldn't put it in the class of what C.J. Stroud did a year ago, but it was excellent. And I think teams are taking like another look at what J.J. McCarthy was asked to do and how well he did it.
Wow. Well, first of all, he can't run like Jaden Daniels.
No, but he's built to last. I love Jaden Daniels, but he went to Arizona State. He was a 180-pound freshman. And if you and I were running an NFL team, Dan, we would have to ask ourselves, would this player be able to withstand the rigors of a 17-game season?
Well, we said that about Bryce Young as well.
Yeah, and the grade we could give him right now is a grade of incomplete. And Bryce Young at times last year looked small. I think Bryce Young's still going to be a good player, but it's a very fair concern.
But also, we had Ryan Leaf on yesterday, and Ryan said if he was the Bears, he'd draft Caleb Williams, but he would sit him that first year and let him sort of absorb the NFL and kind of figure out what you can and can't do. As a former GM, what do you think of that philosophy?
I'm 100% on board. What's the rush here? We want these guys to be great for the next 10 years, not the next 10 minutes. And for all the wrong reasons, the fact that Anthony Richardson sat last year is really great. You never want to see a player get hurt, but letting them sit, I don't understand what the rush is. We had Chad Pennington sit for 2 years. We saw Patrick Mahomes sit for a year behind Alex Smith. What is the rush to play these guys?
Help us understand the running back dilemma. If you were a GM right now and you had your pick of any of these running backs, who would you take, or would you just try to find an Isaiah Pacheco?
Yeah, that one's easy for me. It's Saquon Barkley. Dan, his pass protection's got a lot better. 288 catches in his career so far. If I'm Dallas, I think he's bigger than Zeke and faster than Tony Pollard. And the old axiom, let's pass the score and run to win. I think Saquon to Dallas, plus you're hurting your division rival, makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I've been saying that. It just feels like that's going to happen, but I think I'm basing that off of Jerry Jones, and it's a shiny object, and, Jerry loves that. Now, he would help them, but how much are you paying Saquon Barkley? Does he get a 3-year deal?
I think it's $10 million a year. I think these running backs are just hurting each other when you have Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs out there, let alone, A.J. Dillon. There's just more supply than there is demand right now.
Help us understand the Bills cutting, a couple of defensive backs. Seattle's doing this. Denver just cut an all-pro safety. The cap went up. Why are these teams cutting these defensive backs?
Yeah, the threat is easy. It's quarterbacks. Russell Wilson, they got to accommodate $85 million in dead money. Josh Allen is obviously at the top of the market. And with all these, as you mentioned, Xavier McKinney's out there, Cameron Curl, there's so many safeties out there. It's going to be a microcosm of the running back market where teams are going to say, you know what? If we have to go rent a guy in June, we'll go get a guy in June. And plug him in for a year. It's just not a position we need to pay right now.
And it feels like Buffalo put even more pressure on Josh Allen. So your defense probably isn't going to be as good, and now you're asking Josh Allen to be even better.
I think really what they're saying is we're going to outscore you. We're going to be able to rush the passer. We're keeping Von Miller. We're going to pass rushers and offense, and that's who we're going to be. And we got Josh Allen, and we can't not give him what he needs to be successful. I think when you look at Tre'Davious White in particular, he's a great player. He's just been hurt. And who's to say they don't get him back later on? It's hard for me to think that a team's going to go pay Tre'Davious White coming off of the 2 injuries he's coming off of. So I think with some patience and maybe some good fortune, maybe they get back, 1 or 2 of those players, later in the offseason.
What would you tell Russell Wilson?
How much do you love football? You're going to make $300 million in your career, $39 million this year not to play. Do you want to go to a non-obvious place, Dan, such as San Francisco, the Rams, sit behind an established player for a year? Or do you go off into the sunset? What's fascinating to me is we're going to learn how much he loves football in the coming weeks.
Okay, but so you would suggest maybe going and sit behind Matthew Stafford with Sean McVay as opposed to Atlanta or Pittsburgh?
Well, I think in those situations, they're hoping that you don't play because we're drafting, fill in the blank or trading for Justin Fields. I think go learn a new offense, get in the best shape of your life, and then resurrect yourself that way and take a year going under the limelight. I think that would actually help him a little bit to sort of like take the noise down a bit.
I know you're busy. Thanks for joining us as always, Mike.
Really appreciate it, Dan. Thanks for having me.
That's Mike T. Mike Tannenbaum, ESPN front office insider.